And for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Whitaker. Here. Councilor Woods.
Here.
Councilor Daigle. Here. Councilor Sarnoski. Here. Councilor Smalley. Councilor Hamilton.
Here.
Mayor Sumner.
Here. Introduction of media. Any media present? Anyone wishing to speak for city council tonight on any subject matter will need to fill out a speaker form and turn it into the recorder. Forms are available on the sign-in table in the back of the room. Please turn cell phones off or silence them during the meeting. Announcement for Zoom attendees. If you're joining tonight's meeting via Zoom, you will automatically be muted upon entry, and you'll need to identify yourself if your full name is not already attached to the device being used. You will be unable to unmute yourself. Public comments will only be taken if prior notifications was given to the city recorder. Public comment. The purpose of this public comment period is to allow citizens to present information or raise issues regarding agenda items only. There will be a time at the end of the meeting for citizens to speak about off-agenda items. A time limit of 3 minutes per citizen shall apply. All citizens must come up to the microphone. I don't see any on agenda. Presentations. I'd like to call the fire chief up for certification of appreciation for Sutherlin Fire Department strike team. Nope.
Mayor, Council, Scott McKnight, Deputy Fire Chief. On January 8th, Sutherlin sent an engine to LA as part of Douglas County Task Force. The state sent 21 task forces with over 100 pieces of equipment. So tonight we'd like to recognize the 4 that were gone. They were gone for 14-day deployment and then 3 days travel time. So first of all would be Division Chief Brandon McGar.
This is to certify Brandon McGar. On behalf of the citizens of Sutherlin, the city council, and city staff, we extend our heartfelt gratitude for your exceptional and selfless efforts in aiding the state of California and saving lives in the affected area. Your dedication and bravery are truly commended. Thank you so much, sir.
Engineer Noah Rutherford.
Noah Rutherford, thank you very much from the citizens of Sutherlin, the city council, and city staff. Your dedication and bravery are truly commendable. Thank you very much.
Engineer Tyson Flack.
Tyson, from the citizens of Sutherlin, city council, and the city staff, your dedication and bravery are truly commendable. Thank you.
And engineer TJ Freeman.
TJ, from citizens of Sutherlin, city council, and city staff, your dedication and bravery are truly commendable. Thank you so much. And thanks to all the other firefighters who kept our city safe while they were gone. Appreciate it. So on to the 501c3 update for workforce housing. Keith? Are you on?
Yep.
You're here.
Yeah,
No, it said virtual on here.
I'm
You're here now.
Yeah,
Virtually
it's-
here.
It's amazing what they do with AI.
I think I can.
And Mayor Sumner, I'm sure you've struggled with this too, and speaking to the fire department for the years when I was Reappointment mayor, the fire department has a Christmas dinner and was always invited and always asked to speak to the firemen. used to delivering speeches, and it was always the toughest one I did every year, and I always choked up because, and to your fire department, it's really hard to speak to people who run into burning buildings where the rest of us are running out. So it was always the highlight of my year to try to make it through that without tearing up. So obviously, Sutherlin has an exceptional fire department.
It is.
Thank you for that. And Mike Schrader is here from Oric. You've got a Oak Street Commons plan that Mike is going to talk about. And he said his thought is to start with the plan of finance, and as it provides the context for why we need the 501c3, a nonprofit company. And I'll throw it to Mike in a little bit, and I'll give a few highlights here, and then also I have some comments from Deb Flagin at Simplicity Homes, and that relate to the financing and the cost of the project. And for Pat?
Pat's got to speak too.
Oh, yeah, and Pat's gonna speak too? You want to lead? Go. First.
Well, I'm not speaking directly to this, mayor and council members, but the 501c3, I think, is going to be the backbone of the organizational side of this project, because we will look to the eventual board of that 501c3 to manage all aspects of the housing development. We are determined to make this a model development, and so that needs to be a model 501c3, and it will answer a lot of the questions that our community has already that we've kind of wrestled with, but we haven't landed on in terms of the specifics of who owns the land, who owns the buildings, are they for sale, are they for rent, what the configuration of that will be. And one of the things we've talked about recently is trying to nail down with greater specificity what phase one of the project will look like. So that's going to be intimately tied with how the 501c3 works. And I know Mike has some, I've seen the slide deck, and it looks like there's some great information there.
Hey, hold it, come on, down.
Do you want to, we can talk about the town hall now.
We're just gonna introduce the date of a scheduled town hall is when?
The 24th.
The 24th of March is what we talked about. We talked about a town hall for this project for 6 months, maybe. And we thought it would be good at this meeting to announce that date, as long as it's meets the pleasure of the council, that we would that evening have a town hall for the whole community to get a chance to have their thoughts and interests heard. And if there are objections, we can grapple with them, honestly and openly, and get everything out that it's on people's minds, and get solid, clear answers to questions that we can answer, and to capture the ones we don't have answers for and get them answered. So if that sounds like a reasonable thing to do, that's what we'd like to schedule.
Do we have a time for that?
I would think 7 o'clock would be, that's the time that most of the evening meetings start, and maybe go from 7 to 8:30, 90 minutes ought to do it.
Fine.
So without objection, we'll get that scheduled.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I will, obviously, Michael Schrader from Oric, carries the real big thunder tonight for information on the finance plan. But I thought I'd lead off with a few things that I think are worthy of being mentioned twice. And I'll lead off with that a little bit. And then I have some information as well from Simplicity Homes. Looks like Deb is not on our Zoom tonight. So she and I had a long conversation just this week on this topic, so I'll present some of that too. So leading off, I'm sure that Mike is always going to point out, as he does so well, that there are two real key questions about the costs that will be incurred. And number one is, what are we building? And number two is, who are we building it for? And we'll leave it at that. I think Sutherlin has arrived at those answers already, or nearly arrived at those answers already. Mike is sure to talk about capital stacks, and that simply refers to the various funding partners, the state, employers, banks, conventional loans, et cetera, to complete the project, and federal grants as well. Mike will rightly point out that the city's investment is primarily in the purchase of the land and in the infrastructure costs. It isn't really financing or financing much of the vertical costs, the actual building of units. The city has received 2.8 million in state grant, which covers most of the infrastructure costs, and is seeking another 3 million more. And it sounds like you're in the hopper, at least in federal aid. That would complete the infrastructure needs and much of phase one costs, as I understand it. That would include up to 6 cottages. I think we're still in phase one, right? 6 cottages, 1 9-plex, and 1 4-plex apartment. So the city's investment may well be covered by the grants you do have and grants that you're still applying for. Even if the city does not get all of the funding through grants, they still may have other means to finance the rest of the project. If employers participate, and certainly through the normal funding practices that are used for the construction of other homes, you can apply to Oak Tree Commons as well. None of this is to say that there isn't cost to the city. There will be financial advisors and investment bankers and 501c3 formation costs. But in terms of the overall cost of the project, they will be relatively fractional. And it looks like most or much of the other costs of the project, the city looks to have covered. So when I spoke to Deb Flagging from Simplicity Homes, what I asked from her is, so tell me the process where Simplicity, how are they paid? What does that look like as you do construction on projects like this? And so she and I spoke for quite a while, and she's highlighted that the land and the infrastructure are city incurred costs, right? So you've purchased a parcel of land, and you have infrastructure costs that the city is going to cover. Now, those infrastructure costs are largely paid for through the grant you had from the state. Much of that is being paid for by state grants. The city hopes that the remaining portion will be paid for by federal grants, or much of the remaining portion. What doesn't get covered by those funding partners or others will likely be covered by a proportion of unfunded costs being added to the price of construction units in each home. So if you had unfunded costs that the city's incurred, then one of the ways you could cover that, if the city was selling homes, is simply adding those costs to the price of the homes you were to sell, hoping to still keep it. Remember, targeting that's 80% to 120% AMI. Simplicity by Hayden has provided a detailed cost per unit of full-size homes. We've seen that. Cottage homes and the rental 9 or 4-plex apartments. Because of the size of the project, those costs are at some discount. And I think you understand that because there's a large project here. If you take out the land cost per unit due to the community land trust, so on the sale of the homes, remember, because you're doing a community land trust, those costs, the cost of the land is separated from the price of the house. Then pricing units in the 180 to 100 to 120% average median income target should not be a problem. The city or the trust will then likely require potential buyers to show that their incomes are not above the target AMI. Remember, you're targeting a particular income level with these homes, not people who are selling their $1 million home in California who simply want to move to Sutherlin and get a good deal. The city, Deb has said that the city may construct units as spec houses. Other cities have done that. So the city has constructed the first number of units, which may be the phase one process here. If so, purchasers, if I were buying a home or if Christy were buying a home, would then purchase those units using conventional loans. They would still have to get a loan through a lending institution. The city would likely finance the construction of those units, phase one, if that's the way you wish to go, and then recover the costs when they're sold. So there's a means of recovering for those costs if the city wishes to go that way. It is possible that a major employer or employers or private investors might fund the construction of a 4 or 9-plex or some of the homes, and then have a capacity to control those units for employees. I know in some cases, Mike, I think, has experience with, and you may mention, where employers purchased a whole 9-plex or a whole apartment block, or you had private investors who came in and purchased those. Or employers may pre-lease a number of units. That would be a guarantee, a pre-lease would be a guarantee to cover rental costs for each unit if they could not find employees to fill them. So for example, I'm working with a developer in the city up the coast who is about to build a 36-unit apartment complex. All 36 units have been pre-leased by 4 employers in the area. So 4 employers have guaranteed that they will cover all of the rents for 36 units with the understanding, with the confidence that those will simply be rented by employees. So that may well happen here if you have, we've spoken to some of the employers already and would like to speak to more. And hopefully that opportunity will arise where some of them will simply pre-lease units. And in the city up the coast, all 36 units have been pre-leased by 4 employers in the area. Lenders look favorably on such projects like that. If you have a guaranteed revenue flow where you've pre-leased all of your units, then finding loan packages to complete the construction becomes much more easily done. And the revenue stream is short, an 80 to 120% AMI model, then rents would be structured to meet the income level. Again, on the 9-plexes and 4-plexes, you're structuring your rents to meet a certain income level. For homes that are not pre-built, so if I wanted to build a home in Sutherlin and I met the income levels, I could agree to have one built on a particular lot, and then I would pick and choose of the options that Simplicity has, knowing the cost for that. So it wouldn't be a custom built house; it would be one built of the options that Simplicity has offered, and then I would go finance that through a conventional loan. So just as I would with any other home project, as I did when I purchased my house, or as you did when you purchased yours, it would still be a conventional loan. The buyer would pick the style or option that they prefer, then Simplicity builds it on site with the bank financing construction costs as they do typically. Of course, there will always be deed restrictions. Remember, your target is still that AMI sweet spot. And those deed restrictions then will go on buyers who then have a restricted ability to sell their home at a particular price the next time they resale. Buyers may have to meet the AMI targets. There will be new buyers may have to meet the AMI targets. There will be a deed restriction on resale that will cap the increased value that owners can sell for. So if I'm in a buyer of a first home in the Oak Street Commons and I have a custom built and it's built by Simplicity, then when I resale, then there is a deed restriction on how much I can increase the value of the home. And that's again, so I don't buy the house at a perfect price and then 3 years from now sell it at a price that is increased dramatically. The advantage, of course, is that they will be buying homes at a discount because the new buyers, because the price of the land, which is held by the Community Land Trust, has already been paid for by the city through the grants. It is not included in the price of the house. Minus land acquisition and infrastructure costs, which the state is granting dollars to, the city's financial exposure might be very limited. Even if the city chooses to finance phase 1 construction, they would theoretically recover those costs upon sale or upon rental. So with that, and I'll be glad to answer questions. I think Mike will likely answer some of the questions you have right now as he makes his presentation. So I'll get out of the way. I'll come back at the end if you'd like to ask questions. And I'll throw it to Mike Schrader from Oregon.
Great. Thank you, Keith. Good evening, everyone. Madam Mayor, Chair, councilors, other members of the city team. It's great to be with you this evening. And I think Keith gave a great overview and Pat highlighted some key aspects of this as well, as I believe Jerry did as well on this. So again, what we're looking at here is really a public-private partnership, sometimes referred to as a P3. We're looking to the nonprofit special purpose 501c3 corporation. So it's a separate entity that'll own, operate, manage, make decisions for Oak Street Commons on this. Because again, I think you all realize that projects like this don't happen without a combination of public resources, public support, private investment, private development, and really a partnership and collaboration across both the public and private sectors on this. In terms of the formation of the 501c3, what are we forming? Again, it's an Oregon nonprofit corporation. There'll be some key decisions to make in terms of governance, powers, ownership, operation of the project, oversight of the project, all of those things. And again, you've got a great community task force on this. I think we're operating with the understanding that that task force probably steps into some oversight or governance role on that. Those are all decisions to be made. You form the 501c3 by making filings of the articles and other governance documents, organizational documents with the Secretary of State. That forms the corporation. And again, there'll be a number of decisions to be made and need to be approved by the council and the task force as the entity is formed. And then the next step on that is to actually get the 501c3, the tax exempt determination from the Internal Revenue Service. That's done through filing something called the Form 1023. In that, we'll work closely with the city team and the task force in terms of describing both the project, the role of the city, the role of an oversight by the 501c3, the governance, the plan of finance, the components of the project, a host of issues on that, and we'll submit that to the Internal Revenue Service. It's hard to tell exactly how long it will take them to get through this. My firm has formed several of these special purpose workforce middle housing entities over the last year. It hasn't, 90 days, 3 to 6 months is probably a good timeline on that. I don't think we're doing anything exotic here that would take much longer than that, but it is going to the IRS. And so there can be some uncertainty in terms of the timeline of actually getting the exemption letter and confirmation of exempt status. As a nonprofit corporation that's recognized as a 501c by the Internal Revenue Service, that gives you access to various kinds of grant funding. You can solicit donations that are deductible by the donor. You can access what's called tax-exempt financing. Like a city, a 501c3 can borrow on a tax-exempt basis, meaning a lower cost of funds if you comply with all of the tax rules around that. So there's a host of benefits and advantages. And again, as noted, this project is intended to be owned and operated, controlled with oversight by the nonprofit corporation, again, as directed in the formation process by the city and the task force. That's really the process and sort of some of the basic decisions around forming the 501c3. We anticipate with the good direction from the city staff that it will proceed with the formation and the IRS application. I think the project is sufficiently ripe at this point that it makes sense to go ahead and form the entity and proceed with the application. That said, there's a host of questions and issues as you complete the public process, community hearings and input in terms of the actual design of the project, phase 1, land trust, deed restrictions, rental versus ownership, a host of other issues that will form the oversight and operations of the 501c3. And of course, I think Keith has done a nice job in terms of that's kind of the overview of the financing plan on this. It's something of an iterative process in terms of deciding again what you want to build and who you want to build it for. How much green space do you need? What are the amenities in the project? Sort of looking at the overall project in terms of what we're building, what we want it to look like, what public benefits we want in it, who we want to live there, who our targeted population is there, and a host of things around that. And then really going through the process of attaching numbers to the costs of those various components of the project, whether it's streets and sewers, whether it's parks, whether it's community buildings, whether it's the actual residences, whether those are rentals or cottages or single family home ownership, whether it's a land trust or just deed restricted, a host of things around that. And so you'll go through this process of designing the project, identifying the costs associated with those projects, determining the level of grant funding, be it federal, state, philanthropic, or other, in terms of what your actual cost per unit is on that. And then as Keith mentioned, the term capital stack, there's different kinds of money available if you're doing a rental project. There may be certain kinds of resources and funding for a long-term rental project versus a community land trust, home ownership model versus a deed restricted fee ownership model. So different funds, different dollars, different capital stacks, or sources of funding available for each of those component parts of the project. So in terms of developing the actual financing plan, again, I think Keith did a great job of talking about sort of what those component parts are. But then there's a significant process in terms of aligning your sources to your uses and bringing the right people around the table to make sure you've got the lowest cost of funds to ensure that you're meeting your objectives in terms of affordability and ownership and rental for your targeted population and your benefited residents on that. I'm happy to answer questions, but of course I leave the hard questions to Keith and Pat and Jerry.
Any questions? A lot of information.
There is a lot of information that. I will add that this project is, in terms of housing projects in the state, trying to meet the workforce housing goal, is sort of the darling of the state right now. You guys are gaining some not notoriety, some fame and some real interest around the state for the project that is going on here. And I know is working in this area for the last year or so. There is great hope that this project will be a template for other communities and sort of a plug and play, and they can look and go, well, how did Sutherlin do it? And then to lift that, tweak it to fit their particular needs, but plug it in on property that they have too. So.
Are there decisions to be made now, or is the next step to have the town hall meeting?
I think that Mike helped me out here. I think the next step is to finalize the 501c3. We actually have a meeting on that coming up this week to begin the finalization process, to get that in place. And then after that, then the next issues will sort of flow on from there. Did I get that right, Mike? And
Yes, you did.
That's absolutely right. We have authorization in place, Madam Mayor, for for the borrowing that took place, for the land acquisition, the other building acquisition, and for the formation of the C3. So all that authorization is in place to proceed with the formation and the IRS application.
So I do have a question regarding the 501c3. So when registering that with the Secretary of State, my understanding is that you're going to have whoever the officers are or the registered agents are for that 501c3 already in place. How has that been established, or how are we going to establish
You will make that
that?
decision at the next council meeting.
So then that would be something that would be acted on now rather than
At the next council meeting.
because they would start the process now. Is that my understanding?
Well, we can. I mean, what often happens in that case is you simply put an interim officer or director in there. You're not, again, it's a process on this, because you'll need to form the 501c3 in order to proceed with the IRS application, but you don't want the 501c3 accepting donations or other dollars until you have the exemption letter from the IRS on that. And so there's an opportunity to address these governance and other issues while we're going through the IRS process. And that's what typically occurs on this. There'll be a host of decisions around governance, oversight, officers, directors, indemnity, contracts, a host of things around that as well.
and a timeline on that, Mike, from front to back.
I mean, I think that's one of the things we want to nail down on this, because, among the questions as we work with the city staff on this is, do we want this 501c3, only for Oak Street Commons, or do we want it more expansive for other potential projects in the city? Again, again, does the task force become the governing body? Do we have, we've certainly seen these things in a P3, a public-private partnership, where the city appoints 2 members, the community appoints 3 members. So there's a number of governance models that'll need to be considered, and I would anticipate that those would come back as a recommendation to the council. Again, balancing the interests.
If I may, I've actually discussed this with the mayor. We kind of feel like we want at least 3 city councilors, 3 members of the task force, and a member at large. Keep it to 7. Maybe one of the private employers, who knows? But that's what we'd be bringing back to you and putting in place. We already have 2 counselors that are on the task force, or maybe 3. I can't remember, but it would be natural that they would be, I can't even remember who they are anymore. That would be natural that they would be part of the board membership of the 501c3 plus another counselor. And then you, the council, would need to appoint 3 members of and I will certainly assign the staff to oversee it. So that's kind of what we're looking at. If you're okay with that, then that's where we'll proceed when we come back to you at the next meeting. But like Michael said, I wasn't going to talk. Michael said, we will put in an interim board that looks like that and present that to the IRS. Get that paperwork started. You can refine it, change it, and amend it when we bring it back to you at the next council meeting. But if you're okay with that percentage distribution, 3 counselors, 3 members of the task force, a member at large, or if you want more, just let us know, because you can make that change too.
Mike, you had mentioned that you work with other cities across the state that have a similar 501c3s that have been formed. What are their boards, and what do they look like in terms of?
Yeah, there's certainly a mix. There's certainly a mix. And of course, it depends on the nature of the project, the nature of the public involvement in the project. But to what Jerry described, there's usually a balance here between electeds and non-elected and at large. So you've got a strong voice across the public and private sectors on this. Again, if this is a project that has the city's fingerprints all over it in terms of the land and the infrastructure. And so, what I would presume is that means a higher level of city oversight on the project. If this was something where the city was simply providing a property tax exemption or a pass through for a grant or something like that, I would expect to see a lower level of elected official involvement in this as well. So the answer is there's a whole variety of way to structure the governance on this, but we can certainly come back to you with other examples on this. I'm thinking the C3 we formed in Idaho, I think we had one, it was all community with one governmental representative on it, but I can come back to you with some examples and specific projects.
My boss at ISEC, Greg Wolf, just came on. One of the things that I was just talking to Pat about is that the state has promised that they will stand up a revolving loan fund for housing projects, and I think you may be aware of that. We were told that would exist beginning in February. I think we're now, Greg, looking more towards April for that to come online, and certainly Sutherlin with this project would have the capacity to apply for some of that revolving loan. And a lot of that is, even though it's they call it a revolving loan fund, a lot of that is grant dollars too. And I think, Greg, if you remind me that there's $25,000 or $26,000 per unit available on that project, is that right?
Yeah, it comes out to an average of 25,000. Could be more, could be less, but that's the average. And right now it's either February or March that it'll come out is the latest projection.
Sorry. So you had mentioned that there's a dollar amount for these targeted amount for the homes that are being built that we wouldn't be able to go above. And if the city chose to actually pay for the construction of the homes, the city would not have the ability to build in a profit on those homes, or it would just be the cost of the construction. Would there be availability so that there would be a profit to be made on the sale of the home?
It's annual earnings income is what we're talking about.
No, but he had mentioned that.
You're talking about the actual pricing of
Correct.
the unit.
Correct.
That's a decision that the board will have to make. One of the things that Keith talked about earlier is, does the city want to recoup the city's costs by adding up what all the costs are associated with this project, dividing by 70, if that's how many units there are, or whatever formula is used, and adding that to the cost, the actual raw cost of the building. And we need to answer that question. If you ask me, I would say it would be probably wise to do so, particularly if we intend to have similar projects in the future that would help fund that. So yeah, if that's your question, that's a question that has not been answered, but needs to be.
Okay, that was my.
Yeah, and Pat, I'd add there, I think that's absolutely right. Remember, we're forming a nonprofit here. So that nonprofit, any additional income or excess income, if you would, has to be rolled back into the project or similar projects consistent with the exempt or charitable purpose of the 501c3. So even if there were profits, they couldn't be distributed out to either a public partner or a private partner on this. Again, you can reimburse, pay costs and expensive, pay fees for services and otherwise. But again, given that this is going to be ownership set up in a nonprofit, there's no ability to distribute capital P profits out to non-parties, be it a public entity or a private entity on that. So Pat's point is spot on in terms of cost recovery, fees for services, and all those things are perfectly legitimate and appropriate, but there's not an ability to add a profit premium and pass that back to the city or any of your private participants.
But would you be able with the first of all, is there a cap on how much profit this nonprofit can make? Because I know nonprofits obviously can make money. I'm sorry?
I'm just mumbling, there's no such thing as a profit for a nonprofit.
Yeah, well, there is profit.
But no, but if I understand the question is if we have income over expenses, is there a limit on that? And that answer is no. But again, you're going to the IRS and you're forming your entity around a model which is affordable workforce housing. And so you're going to tie your residents to an income limit. You're going to have cost limitations, so they're not house or rent burdened on that. So you're going to have constraints built into the structure of the ownership entity, and you're going to be a mission-driven entity to comply with the rules, so to speak, under which you've set up and established the nonprofit entity. If you have some windfalls and other good things happen to the organization, that's great. But those profits, if you would, or income over expenses, have to be used and distributed in a manner that's fully consistent with your exempt or charitable purpose, which is the production of affordable middle workforce housing.
Greg, did you have something to add?
No, thank you.
I thought I saw your hand go up. Okay. Anything else?
Is there anything else?
Any other questions?
Good.
Thank you so much. I
No,
appreciate
thank you
it.
for the opportunity. I love driving over. I love being here. And as Jerry and Pat have said, we'll be seeing you maybe next month and
Okay.
certainly in future months as we finalize the 501(c)(3) and get that off and running.
Thank you,
So
Keith.
thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good to see y'all.
Thank you, Michael. Greg. Okay, on to Sutherlin Area Chamber of Commerce. Scott. Five minutes.
Always do this to
She
me.
took your time up, sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Joking.
Hello, hi Mayor and members of the council and city staff. Thank you so much for the time today. So we're gonna have some fun and watch some videos, but I'm gonna talk quickly about kind of three things that we've been focusing on lately. We have a lot more coming up, but I wanted to first mention that the Sutherlin Area Chamber of Commerce has again for the second year gotten a strategic fund from Travel Southern Oregon, who is our regional tourism entity. So this time we got $5,000 and we got this grant for technical upgrades for the visitor center. So what we're doing is actually really cool. Really excited about it. We're doing a couple of technical upgrades on the inside, which would be a TV so that we can play our videos. We also got an iPad and an iPad stand, and we're gonna get an iPad, one of those arms that you can flip it each way so that our visitors, volunteers can show it to they've been doing that with their phones. So we wanna give them access to, you know, get a room at one of our hotels or look beyond and to their next trip. And we're also looking at outdoor solutions because our visitor center is back to our winter hours, which is 10 to 2. We are fully staffed right now, which is a humongous win. So Monday through Saturday, we're fully staffed again, which is super exciting. No need for applause. I've clapped a bunch of times on my own, so it's okay. It's hard to do to get it fully staffed, so we're excited. Yeah, oh, thank you, thank you. We've got a great staff of volunteers, and then we still have our little sorority that comes in on Saturday, and they alternate, so they're fantastic. So we're gonna look at some outdoor solutions just to give those visitors that are coming, not when they're open, not when we're open, they get to town late, and they're just kind of, you know, coming up to the visitor center to see what we have that they can just grab. So we've already increased our outdoor brochure holders, and those have been really popular for the people, you know, kind of off times. But we're also looking at contracting with one of our metal partners, and much like mirroring what you guys did at Ford's Pond with the bird watching, we're going to put an outdoor kiosk outside the visitor center that also includes a large TV that we can play our videos nonstop with closed captioning. It'll be up higher and it'll be completely encased, so that we will hopefully, you know, not lose that. It won't walk away. And we have some solutions for vandalism. It'll also hold outdoor brochures, and they're looking at making that look like a tree, so it blends in with our visitor center really nicely, and can be an attraction kind of all on its own. So next up is our videos. So we focus on destination videos each year. Last year we did 6. This time we also did 6. So these videos we stream outside of our area. So these bounce around. We go down the I-5 corridor. So they bounce around between Portland, down to Salem, and then Salem to Eugene. They go over to the coast. They come to our hot spots, and then they go to Grants Pass, Ashland, and they just kind of bounce around for our entire year at all of our streaming platforms. And so they're doing really well. They're generating about a little over 200 clicks to our website, which is what we generally want to do with these a month. And we're getting around a little over 200,000 impressions. So a lot of people are watching these all the way through, and they enjoy them. So this year we focused on Ford's Pond. So super happy you're here. We focused on Ford's Pond. Last year it was construction. So we focused on, we always focus on the 3 principles of tourism, which are a place to stay, a place to eat, and an activity. So that kind of gauges all of our travel, right? So we focus on highlighting that. Last year in our videos, we highlighted Best Western as our place to stay. We highlighted our place to eat as Backside Outpost, and we highlighted our activities with the Tesla station, outdoor rec like Cooper Creek, and some antiquing around Sutherlin and Oakland. So this time we really focused all of our promotion around Ford's Pond. We really also focus on making our actors local and making them look like our families that would visit us. So this year we also brought in a new actor, a local actor, Dennis. He is wheelchair bound. He is part of the veterans. I can never remember it. I wish I would have wrote it down. The paralyzed vets, and he actually teaches fishing at Ford's Pond to vets and whitewater rafting, and he's written content for Travel Oregon about how accessible Oregon is and how you get around and travel. So we actually stumbled upon him with one of our partners, Serenity, and they hooked us up with him, and he's local. So he is the grandpa to our little family that we brought back from last year so that we have that brand recognition. And so we're gonna play these 6 quick videos. Again, they're 15 and 30 seconds, and some of them will be similar, but remember we play these on different streaming and we try to kind of gather around the same thing. So we'll run these for you guys. There is one in here that we kind of did a mashup of last year and this year. So that one is actually our 3rd most popular one that we've been doing. So we'll roll these really quick. With the sound on, hopefully too.
Maybe.
Okay. Oh, I hope so, Lindsay. You got this.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica.
Here we go. Here we go. This is the mashup one from last year. Little Scarlet. She's grown. So yeah, do you guys like those? What do you guys think? Good. So we really focused a lot on accessibility as well. Since the amazing work that the Friends of Ford Pond have done around that, and the way that our city is embracing that with the splash pad and those features and all the features that we have around accessibility with Ford's Pond. We are also now going for a competitive grant for Travel Oregon. We're asking for $20,000 from them to work with a company called Wheel the World. Wheel the World is a platform, a travel platform, much like Expedia or Kayak. Actually, they are partners with Expedia, and they are a platform specific for accessible travel. So they do internationally and they do all around America. They don't have many in Oregon, and so they're going kind of after us right now. So it does cost to get your destination verified. It's a little over $1,000 for each location within our city to verify it. So the chamber is going to ask for that money so that we can verify 12 destinations within our city, and actually 2 in Oakland. So we want to do that because they have such an enormous footprint in this demographic. And we are really built for this. We are so supported in this that Travel Southern Oregon has offered and is paying for a grant writer for us for this grant. And they picked one that writes grants for Oregon Shakespeare Festival. So we're pretty lucky. Stephanie with a Y. She's lovely, and we've already moved past our letter of intent that's been accepted. And once we do get verified, we'll get an entire landing page within that website. We'll also get mappers that come and they will map each of our destinations. So they call them destinations. So each location would be a destination. So they come and map those. So we've had lots of meetings with Wheel the World, and what they're not looking for is a place to be completely, ADA. What they are looking for is just information on each location. So we have places, obviously like Ford's Pond, where, but we also have a lot of our small businesses like Waylani on our list, the library, the drugstore. So they'll come and map us, and that just means they'll put all the information like how many handicap parking spots we have, what's the, the inches of the doorway, if there's public restrooms, what those dimensions are inside, so that when we do have travelers looking at our site on that website, they know where they can go and what to expect when they get there, right? So we want to also beef up our website with that information as well. So it's really kind of a great partnership. So I'm going to have you guys watch one more video, and this is a YouTube video. It's on Wheel the World, and they have come to already a couple of destinations here in Oregon, and I think I have the Tillamook one up for you guys. And this is just a video about this is what they would do once we get that grant. They do a video and a landing page for us, which is going to be really great for our hotels, by the way. Both of them will be on there, and all of our businesses that we get verified. So this is a really great thing. We'll find out in June if we get this grant, and we'll move forward from there and get them verified. Our businesses I'm working with them now to get them used to what's going on. We're starting some meetings. We're working with Southern Oregon University as well for some training on the aftercare of our guests once we get them in, and how we can further help them and welcome them. So we have a lot of resource around this too. Also, Canada. I would describe myself as meticulous, organized, kind, silly, and recently adventurous.
I'm Daniel Jose. I'm 39 years old, and I'm from Toronto, Canada. I'm independent. I like to travel. I'm a freelance writer by trade, so I like to think I'm creative. Rachel is my fiance. We met 9 years ago playing hockey. She's a wonderful, kind-spirited person, and she makes me laugh, and I love her.
So many things that we loved this trip on Tillamook Coast. I would say going to the Tillamook Creamery was my absolute favorite. Getting to taste all the different cheeses and ice cream is like a dream. We loved getting to see all the wildlife, which we didn't really expect to see here, but seeing herds of elk and deer, so many birds, it was just amazing and not something that we normally see in Toronto.
got here, and I think we really enjoyed sort of the small town atmosphere. The food was incredible. And everything was remarkably accessible for us. We're very surprised. We really feel like we were able to enjoy this place to the fullest.
Be nice. Pretty amazing video about a destination. That speaks to a pretty amazing demographic, and we feel like we're positioned to speak to that demographic too. So I'm really excited to be doing this work around this grant, and I'm really excited to be involving our businesses in this work, and we're really happy to shelter the cost through this grant. It's a little over $1,000, like I said, for each one. And the work around that will also include a brochure. We'll have signage, the video they come down and do, and the landing page. So we'll do social media around that and have a lot more kind of around that too. So we're pretty excited about this one. And then the final bit of news, if no one has any questions, we just did our last cash mob, which was at Crystal Creek Meats here in Sutherlin. It was our record-breaking cash mob. So within an hour, we had brought in over $900 for that business, which was pretty amazing. And we're still, I think I've got some cash mobbers here. We're still, I know I'm riding high on that one, but to be able to bring that impact within an hour to one of our small businesses is pretty amazing feat. And our chamber ambassadors are the ones that organize that. So pretty amazing win for them. So I brought them, I had them eat cake at their 8 a.m. meeting with faux mimosas, and they loved it. So did I, because cake for breakfast is delicious. So that's it. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jess. City Day 2025, Pat.
Mayor and council, I will offer you a brief recap of a full day, and part of 2 others. I went to Salem to join the League of Oregon Cities at City Day, which is a day dedicated to sharing the plight and the successes of the cities with our legislature. And I was able to meet with Senator Smith, with Representative Osborne, Representative Boyce, spent some time with the Department of Revenue, ODOT, and the Department of Land Conservation and Development, a few others as well. One of my primary purposes for going was to thank our senator and our representative personally for what they did getting our grant into SB 1530. It was really, they're the ones that took that bull by the horns and caught us in that bill, and wanted to let them know personally that it was very appreciated, and they really like what we're doing here. They're following it with great interest. Housing is still a huge emergency in our state. The governor has rechristened that the crown jewel, and we're hoping we can make a dent here. ODOT was a major discussion point for a number of reasons, a few of them good. One of the things that was interesting is that 2 years ago, when the legislature last made a major budget adjustment for ODOT, only 20% of the projects that they funded have been completed. So the legislature is kind of unhappy with the efficiency of our transportation department, and I don't know what the outcome will be. Particularly, they're interested in seeing what can be done for cities under 25,000 in population, because they are convinced, and the numbers show it, that we're being shorted. Wetlands came up. Sorry, Christy.
Targeted.
I brought it up because no one else wanted to talk about it. And Senator Smith and Representatives Osborne and Boyce both have taken an interest in this, and I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but I was able to cobble together a model bill and found 3 other states that have already taken action on wetlands to make wetlands that aren't wet usable for particularly housing, and thinking that that's one of the foundational problems we have in Oregon is that we don't have buildable land. And as a result, everything else is enormously expensive and doesn't need to be. So we'll watch that. We'll see if it goes anywhere. I was also able to talk about the funding cycle for our homeless industry in Oregon, which is kind of an interesting thing. Senator Smith is particularly interested in this. I think his number was he thought about 6% of the budgeted money for homelessness actually got on the ground where it was helping homeless people. And I said, well, when you continue to fund failure, that's what you get. And he's going to see if there can't be something done. And I know Commissioner Boyce has been to Salem several times about this to try to get money directly targeted to the cities and the counties, so that the folks that actually are experiencing the problem could help fix it. So I thought that was worth my time as well. One of the other things that came up in that process was streamlining the grant process, so that getting a grant isn't geared to a major metropolitan area that has staff that's sitting around waiting for the next grant opportunity to come along and is fully staffed to administer it. Smaller towns and cities have a real problem there, and they're working on that as well. So I thought it was time well spent. I think we're making some headway with our city's relationship with our elected representatives, and I think it's important. So if you have questions, I'll try to answer them. Otherwise, I thought it was a good day.
Thank you for going. Appreciate it.
Not my favorite place.
Did you go to Panera Bread?
I did not go to Panera Bread.
Go.
Smallest sandwich in the Western United States.
Any questions?
That's what we want to ask.
Any questions? Thank you for that. On to consent agenda, January 13th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for January 13th, 2025.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda. Any discussion? Vote.
Counselor Whitaker,
Aye.
Counselor Woods,
Aye.
Counselor Daigle,
Aye.
Counselor Sandusky. Counselor Hamilton,
Aye.
Mayor Summer.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Under council business, planning commission appointment, staff report.
Councilors and mayor, we have one vacancy on the planning commission, with a term ending December 31st, 2028. City received 2 applications, one from Vanilla Wilder and one from Charles Belfort. We're asking that you choose one of the applications to appoint for that position.
Well, it's been a while since we've brought it over. Yeah, no kidding. Do I have a motion? Is either of the people here? I don't see Janella or Charles.
No.
Okay,
I make a motion that we appoint Charles Belfort to the planning commission with a term ending December 31st, 2028.
I would second that.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Charles Belfort with term ending December 31st, 2028. Any discussion? Vote.
Counselor Whitaker,
Aye.
Counselor Woods,
Aye.
Counselor Daigle,
Aye.
Counselor Sandusky. Counselor Hamilton,
Aye.
Mayor Summer.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
On to budget committee.
I just wanted to say that I'm gonna get a hold of Janella Wilder, who also applied for this other job. And she wants to volunteer to do something at the city. And we need help on the Parks Committee, Advisory Committee, so I'm gonna give her a call and see what she's up to.
I think we have one more opening on the budget committee as well.
Yes.
So if she's interested in the budget committee.
Rather have her on the Park.
Jocelyn Park.
There's no reason why she couldn't do both.
True, that's
Yeah. Okay, on to the budget committee. Staff report.
So for the budget committee, we have 5 vacancies. We have 2 terms that are ending December 31st, 2025, and 3 terms that are ending December 31st, 2027. We had a reappointment from Renee Lilly. And then we had applications for appointment for Abigail Willis. And then we also received a couple of applications after the packet was sent out from Gail, Daniel, and Reappointment Carter. So I've given you those to look over as well. And provided you guys a little sheet to make it easier for the appointments.
So we need to do this as. Can we put them all together, just give the right dates?
Just put a check mark on each one of what date you want.
You just gotta assign the dates.
Yeah, okay.
And I see Ray Bonnie's here. Is anyone else here? Okay, would you like to come up and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abigail Willis, and I currently work at Umpqua Community College as an executive assistant there. And so I have been through one budget committee there. I'm actually the note taker for that meeting. And we're coming up on our next one here in April. And so I thought this would be an interesting opportunity to actually participate in the process, not just taking the notes and observing it. I've lived in Oregon and specifically Sutherlin since I was about 2. So really like the direction that it's headed. We heard about Ford's Pond. My parents live near there and I frequent it quite often. And so just really liking the initiatives that are coming and wanting to see how we can spur that further.
Thank you.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions too.
Question? Thank you. Everybody, would you like to come up?
You didn't tell me I had to do that.
Just say your name and anything you would like.
And I am a mess.
You look great.
Straight from the barn.
I told you that was fun.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Remember, Madam Mayor, I know where you work.
Yes, you do.
And I have to say, honestly, the mayor approached me on this and am I as qualified as Abigail? Absolutely not. But I do have a healthy enthusiasm for learning new things. And this has been quite an interesting evening tonight, so it got me kind of excited. And yes, as soon as you said Ford's Pond, I noticed 2 very, very dear friends that had a big part to do with that. And I remember talking with Beth a lot about things going on in the city and Ford's Pond, and she actually told me that that had a name. So I have a lot to learn, but I embrace new things. I also work for UCC. And I remember Abigail from my what did you call that? Introduction for the new folks that that's the one. It was so a year ago, right? So yeah, for the jobs program, we work directly with people that are on TANF. I don't work with any money or anything like that, just the people themselves. Long history of customer service, if you will. I'm also a veteran. I was a police officer for a short period of time. The Army, thank you. So I have a diverse background that might bring a little something to the committee. I did not expect this, so yeah, speaking on the fly is not a problem, but yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I'd like to know more about the city as far as those kinds of things go. And the only way to do that is to just jump right in and be a part of it. And I lived here in Sutherlin for almost 17 years. So I first landed in Sisters and then found my way over this way. And I've been here ever since. And I just love it. And I get to meet people like Beth and the mayor. And it's an awesome community. It really is. I love being here. So,
Thank you.
any questions?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, do I have a motion?
I still don't quite understand what this means.
So you just said, mark like which ones you would, like this one, and then mark the other one, this one. Each one would do which,
Well, there's 4 people and there's 5 days.
so one's gonna be blank because we don't have the
Okay.
fifth one. So there you go.
Like that?
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
So,
so I make a motion that we approve Renee Lilly, or reappoint Renee Lilly
right,
for that.
with hers ending on that date.
Okay. With her term ending 12/31/2025. That we appoint Abigail Willis, her term ending 12/31/2025. Riavani Carter, with her term ending 12/31/2027. And Gail Daniel, with her term ending 12/31/2027.
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
I have a motion and a second. As stated. Any discussion? No.
Counselor Whitaker,
Aye.
Counselor Woods,
Aye.
Counselor Daigle.
Aye.
Counselor Sarnoski.
Aye.
Counselor Hamilton,
Aye.
Mayor Summer,
Aye.
motion carries unanimously.
On the budget calendar approval.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilors, Tammy Trowbridge, Finance Director. I have basically a proposed budget calendar based around the same dates as we used last year, with the preparation leading up to and then including our first budget message on the council meeting of the 12th. And then the first budget committee meeting on May 19th, and if any additional meetings are necessary, the next subsequent 2 days, the 20th and the 21st. And then gives council the opportunity to adopt the budget on June 9th. And everything to be buttoned up and going into effect as of July 1.
Do I have a motion to approve the budget calendar approval 25-26 fiscal year as presented? I'll make a motion to approve. I have a motion, do I have a second? Got a motion and a second, any discussion?
Counselor Whitaker,
Aye.
Counselor Woods,
Aye.
Counselor Daigle. Counselor Sarnoski.
Aye.
Counselor Hamilton,
Aye.
Mayor Summer,
Aye.
motion carries unanimously.
Under resolution 2025.03 OTIB loan approval.
Mayor, Council, Christy Gilbert, Community Development. We're trying to keep those transportation projects from going stagnant. This is one of those final stages of the Dakota Street Signal, the funding for that, moving it forward. Once we get through this application, the resolution authorizes the city manager to sign for the application, which would then move that project forward so we can work with them on the scope of work of the project and start getting a request for proposal out for engineering. So we ask that you approve resolution 2025.03 authorizing the city manager to sign the application to move it forward.
When do we anticipate that this would go in, be installed?
Well, because things do take time, I'm gonna say 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
I say 1.5 years for the engineering, and then it could be, yeah, I say about 3 to 5 years.
Okay, so
I know you love me, Jerry.
this amount of money that's shown here is still gonna be okay 3 to 5 years from now?
Yeah, it's for the whole process. It includes, so then it's interest payments only until we actually are complete with the project.
Well, I'm
Yes,
just
it'll be in-
saying it will be.
So there won't be
because-
any inflation on the cost of
OTIB
those.
includes that as a loan process.
What?
There won't be any inflation on the
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, correct. So in 3 to 5 years, they're not gonna raise this up going, it's gonna be $5 million versus $2 million.
So we took the engineer estimate and then we escalate it based on what we know today to predict for those costs. So these numbers are based on the increased predicted cost of the future. So we can hope that they're less by then. Not that things go down.
Yeah,
So I
fat
can
chance.
hope. Hey, I like to be optimistic.
Yeah, we're gonna go, right?
Usually
Have you seen steel
20% of the project. So that we would have to, we bring each of those bids back. But that's why we have to go out to bid, and we actually do the engineering, design and project management, so then they help facilitate that next request for proposal for construction.
So state highway, correct?
Correct.
So they don't pay for anything anymore?
So by doing it this way, it doesn't trigger all of the federal highway requirements for the funding. And so we have, that's one of the main reasons that it goes through the city, because it doesn't trigger as many. We still have to meet their standards, which we have the same adopted standards. But it doesn't trigger a lot of those levels. And I don't know the ins and outs of them all, other than it's a even larger process. So 3 to 5 years
And
turns
more
into 5 to
expensive.
7.
How much is this being paid for through grants? Or any of it?
We don't know yet.
This is
We're
urban
applying.
system development charges.
Okay.
So a lot of the developments that are taking place over on that west side is kind of where those system development charges get applied. And then urban renewal, was one of those projects that were designated in that. So
Too bad it's gonna take that long, because that really needs one there.
we'll move it as fast as we can, but
Yeah.
longer, because you never know what hurdles, and every project comes with hurdles, so. Be real a little bit.
Have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025.03 and ODOT commitment letter.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Ready to vote?
Counselor Whitaker,
Aye.
Counselor Woods,
Aye.
Counselor Daigle,
Aye.
Counselor Sarnoski,
Right.
Counselor Hamilton,
I,
Mayor Summer.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
On to city manager recruitment, after I went to the LOC conference, it was recommended by a breakout session I attended that we would start the recruitment about a year in advance. And with the pending retirement of our city manager, I thought it was about time for us to start the discussion on how the city would like to, or the council would like to move forward in that recruitment. And so I wanted to start the conversation about where we want to go and how we want to move forward. And there's a couple of thoughts I have to start the discussion. Our options are whether the recruitment wants to stay within the city, or we want to take it out either statewide or nationwide. Do we want to have staff facilitate the recruitment, or do we want to hire a consultant to do it? That's where I think we should start the discussion. And I would like feedback on that. What are your thoughts?
I think we hired a consultant years and years and years ago when they hired Jerry.
yeah.
We had somebody organize it for us and recruit.
Yeah, look how that turned out.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Okay, that's not.
I deserve that.
I wouldn't even know where to begin. Honestly.
Yeah,
I think a statewide one would be great.
statewide.
myself, yeah.
And that would include all internal and external and opens it up.
Yeah, I think hiring somebody, a recruiting outfit is the best way to go.
We can send out a flyer to all the search firms, Propton, Murray and Associates, just like they did last time. They can come and you can interview them and you can select one.
That's what I wondered if that's how we do it, or does League of Oregon Cities have like a list or?
They don't anymore. Yeah, they have a list. We use their
Oh, we
list.
use their
And we'd
list
send
and
out like an RFP.
and how do we put together our qualifications or what we're looking for, or does that happen after?
They do all that. They will bring it, if the search firm is good, they're gonna bring you on, they're gonna do a community thing, they're gonna ask you, they're gonna redefine the position, what your priorities are for the position, create a recruitment portfolio thing, send it out and bring you, you just say, bring us 10 candidates to look at and we'll decide who we want to interview.
And they include us and the community
And the community at large, correct.
Developing
Right.
the criteria
That's
for
correct.
hiring. Okay. So maybe we can get you guys would put together a letter and send it out to different firms and then,
Well, it will come from you.
okay,
We'd write a little request
okay.
and
So would they be,
send it out to all the firms.
so would they be defining the position? Or would that be something that the council,
They'll do that with you.
so that would be something,
Yeah.
would there be like a specialized meeting that would be set up
Oh,
to go?
there'll be
over?
several, yeah.
So that.
And it would include the public as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was part of that process, and then they had to reevaluate the, salaries and everything, so it was like basically starting over from scratch.
And what I would suggest, you give them as little information as possible. Because you want to make them work and come in and present and find out how much work they put in to understand. And you see what I'm saying? So you use that as a mechanism to determine who you want. And the ones that really want the job will put the work in advance and come to you and said, I've done my initial research. This is what we're thinking. This is what we can do for you. If we went in there and said, we're a city of this side and city manager of this and do that, well, then we're doing all the work for them.
Anybody have any other thoughts or questions or ideas?
I think that sounds like a good idea. I guess at some point we'll be putting some criteria that we kind of feel is pertinent, so.
Yeah, that's what
you'll
they'll
do.
work with us and with the public
Right.
to all come up with that criteria.
Madam Mayor, may I make one suggestion though?
Yes,
That maybe we can find 3 city councilor volunteers. As we get responses back. The committee of 3 can say, you know what? We don't want to interview all 15.
right.
We would like to take this 3 to city council for, and let them make that decision. So if you'd be willing, if we could get 3 volunteers from the council to work with staff.
Well, I
I
think
would
the
like-
whole council ought to be involved in that.
Well,
I
the
mean,
problem is you want to review all 20 applicants?
yeah,
Oh, well, that's fine then.
I mean, that's our job, isn't it?
We did about
Yeah.
6 when we did.
Yeah, it just depends. I would just,
We're gonna be stuck with this guy for a while.
I think we'll have to
could
do
be
is come
gal.
up with a ratings score sheet. And we'll do that at home and then we'll rate them and then
Yeah,
come together to make
That's
that.
that's kind of what we did. They gave us a list and we narrowed it down to a few, and then we sat down and did interviews with those few and then made our decision from there.
I just wanna be, I think everybody ought to be part of that.
And that's just picking the firm that's gonna be doing it.
Yeah.
Okay,
League of Oregon Cities, when I was still working, had on their website, a place you can go to and list a lot of those.
that's because the League of Oregon Cities did it. They did this one with me, Jeannie
Yeah.
Messmer. But they got out of the business and so they just turned it over to all the private sector. There's Jensen, there's Prothman, there's Murray, there's
okay.
SGR. There's at least a dozen I can think
Do
of.
you get them on your emails now? Yeah, cause I do.
Yeah, so I can put together a criteria for everyone to use when they're getting them in to rate
That'd be
them
great.
all. And then we can all rate on the same criteria and come up with.
This is one of the few things in which you need to take the predominance of lead and direct staff, because we don't want to influence.
Right.
And I'm not gonna have anything to do with it. I should be completely away. from
Okay,
it.
but you'll write the letter too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we will.
All right, that sounds good. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. On to reports.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Madam Mayor, we'll do 8 and 9 at the same time.
Yes, that sounds great.
So, used to be 2 meetings a month. And as we moved into, we decided to do, a bi-weekly status report of departmental activities. And so what we did is we had the council meeting and we provided an activity report sometime around the same time the second council meeting would have been, and you've done that. And then over time, it kind of fizzled out. Met with the mayor and council president Whitaker, and Debbie had been asking for it too some time ago. We think we'd like to bring that back, but we want to use it in a broader community transparency way, is we talked about. So this is what we're proposing and would like you to. So we will do a monthly activities report that would come out when the next council meeting is. And we're going to use that report to also inform the community. So it'll be on the website. Any questions that come up at a council meeting, for example, at this council meeting, any questions that come up that somebody comes up and says, we will use that activity report to answer that question within the framework of our activities report. And it'll be on the website. And you'll be able to just click on the website and you'll see not only departmental activity reports, but answers to questions that were brought up at the council meeting. So that there isn't a delay waiting till the next council meeting for us to respond to questions and issues. Are you okay with that process?
I like that.
With that, I want to also talk about their work at making a proposal to get a new website. And the reason that's important, there's going to be some elements of that new website I think that the community is going to enjoy. So within the framework of that website, we will have that activities report, which would be a link. We'll have a Hastings Village continual log of activities, and then we'll have the workforce housing notification. So when you come in, those will be the key ones. And I think there's one other thing that, and one of the reasons there, Tammy and the two amigos here were looking at doing, is when we talk about minutes, you know how when we have a council meeting, all this discussion, well, the community doesn't really get a grasp of what happened till the next council meeting when you approve the minutes. Well, this has the ability of downloading the entire council meeting on the website. And on the website, it would have this agenda on it. And if you go at, I don't care about the 501c3, it'll actually have the minutes that you can scroll down and click on that, and it'll come on at that point. So you'll be able to, and so like at the end of the council meeting tonight, let's say when this website comes on, it'll be on first thing tomorrow morning, and the whole community can do it. And they can access just the ones they may be interested in or listen to the whole thing. And so they've been working on that. I'm really, really pleased with that. And so the one last thing I want to talk about that's really important, Councilor Daigle brought it up, is the an additional workshop on city finances. So we've reached out to Jenna Jones. She's the trainer for the League of Oregon Cities. At the next council meeting, we're going to carve out time in the agenda for a workshop. And we want to invite all members of the budget committee to be there. And the chief has a task force that he's been working with on city budgeting. And Jenna Jones is going to take you through a fairly comprehensive report on how we came through ballot measures 5 and 50 and have come to the point in what cities are doing today to deal with the limited income as and the disparity and all that stuff. She's really good, and I think you will enjoy it. So I want to encourage everybody, those listening and members of the budget committee, we're going to make sure we want to get a, as Gary said, members of the community to come in and hear this report, bring everybody up on the same page as we go into the budget.
Are you going to put out some sort of like public announcement
Yes.
announcing?
Yeah,
that
yeah,
this
I'll be on the
will-
reader board up.
But like anything out,
Yeah.
like on putting it on,
Facebook page.
well, Facebook page, but also maybe on utility bills saying, hey, come to this meeting.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Utility bills, we could do that. Good timing.
So,
Any update on, the, what was it? Mentioned on business.
oh, yeah, business license. Pat, you're on.
I guess we're asking status of, we had a meeting
Thank you,
back in
Mayor.
November, and we were wondering where we were at on, status of,
Right,
the-
we've had a couple of meetings since November,
who's we,
the city staff.
okay,
And we're waiting for new information from 2 other cities. We're trying to look at models, but we don't reinvent the wheel. And I think at the next meeting, we'll be able to come back and we'll get you a report in advance of the meeting. And then we're gonna wanna talk about money. Because one of the things we've talked about is do not wanna make this onerous. But it has to be meaningful in some way, and you guys are gonna have to answer that question, what that looks like. But I think next council meeting, we'll have something for you to perhaps make a decision on. But, so we'll have model, language and some numbers to look at.
Thank you.
thank you.
And one more thing is, I know that our agreement with Fort Pond is up after it's been a year and it's up. Is there anything you'd like to talk about on just kind of where we're at?
We're gonna meet tomorrow to talk about it as a staff. We're really not sure. We're trying to determine the best, as I mentioned to you earlier. When it seems that they're coming and talking to you, maybe that's where we have a habit. We don't necessarily need ongoing discussion. We've got a full-time person out there working on it. And maybe we can do is similar to the chambers, have an agenda item every other month that has a Forts Pond report that they can come and you guys can discuss and then give us direction from there.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. On to council comments. Remember, monthly meeting time is limited. Please ask questions or make statements that are likely to benefit the group. Individual comments and questions that can be handled on a one-on-one basis should be handled outside the meeting. Counselor Hamilton.
Me?
Yeah, you're first.
I'm supposed to be first. I don't think I have anything.
That's a first.
I know.
You're not only the first, that's a first.
Counselor Woods.
I like to say that, I've noticed that we've had a lot of the urban renewal. The businesses taking advantage of the urban renewal, grants that we have available to us. And they've been putting those to use and doing the storefronts and the parking lot over by the drugstore. And I think that's gonna be a really great addition to our city, having more accessibility for, some of our clients who are gonna have a difficult time getting in and out of their vehicles with the potential of that drive-through that they are proposing to put in. So I think those are some really great things that are.
I could add to that too. We expect in this next budget to actually begin expanding that grant program.
That would be really great.
To the
Jerry.
west. Cause I know you have an interest in it
Oh, I do.
and
Many other businesses do as
Yeah.
well.
Corner looks great though.
I don't know how much money we'll have, but we want to set some money aside to begin that.
Yeah, but it does, it looks very nice.
It does. Counselor Daigle.
Well, I was gonna bring up things about the workforce housing, about getting information out there, but what Jerry was talking about the website, it sounds like a good idea to me. I really think people have to have a place to get access to this information. And sometimes it's hard to get it out, I understand, but people need to know what's going on, and when people feel better about what's going on, they know that even if they're opposed to it, at least they feel like they're included in what's going on, and that's important to me, and I know it's important to most everybody else here, but anyhow, I'm glad to see that, and I like the budget thing.
Here's your idea, thank you.
That's good. That's all.
Thank you. Council President.
Wake up.
Whitaker.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Council President Whitaker.
The city put out a proposal, a request for. What do you call it?
Proposals.
Yeah, a request for proposal. To get somebody to start working on the parks master plan. And we got one reply. There were 2 or 3 people interested, but we got one reply. Filled out all the information and gave us the information. But it's the same company that did the Forge Pond master plan, which is Cameron. So we've already been working with them. We have a meeting tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon at 2:30. Several people are going to be involved in that from the city and from the Parks Committee, and we're going to go over their proposal and ask questions, answer questions. And it's not a meeting actually to say, have you put this into design and put that into design? It's just to make sure that we're convinced that they're qualified to do the job that needs to be done. And then from that point forward, after we reward or give them the award a bid or reward the contract to them, then we start meeting with them on a regular basis and working out the details as to what's going to happen. So anyway, just wanted to bring you up to date.
And we anticipate that coming in March. Right?
So I wanted to touch a little bit more on the website and how I think it's such a great idea. We had a meeting the other day with a lot of community partners about Hastings Village, and I get really disheartened sometimes when I look at Facebook and I see a few of the sites that have so much negativity and a lot of things posted that are pretty inaccurate and just keep promoting that stuff. And so I think it's going to be really helpful that we have a place on the website that we can post things for, like Hastings Village and workforce housing and different things where people can go and see accurate information. Or just answers to questions without relying solely on Facebook for their information. That's not always accurate. So I'm really happy about this and I hope people utilize it.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that us as a city can actually put links in to chats when we see inaccurate information and encourage people to go to the city website when they want information. So. And once again, thanks for the fire department for going down south. Really appreciate that, as I'm sure all of LA does as well. That's it for me. And last, for public comment, the purpose of public comment is to allow citizens to present information regarding items off the agenda. A time limit of 3 minutes per citizen shall apply. First one is Tony Rosette.
Good evening. I'm Tony Rosa. I live at 579 Fairway Estates Drive in Sutherlin. The purpose of my 3 minutes is going to be our relationship, our partnership between the Friends of Ford's Pond and the city. I have been a Friends of Ford's Pond volunteer since 2019. I have donated a couple thousand hours of labor and thousands of dollars of equipment, maintenance, and fuel costs. I love the park, obviously, and wish that the city government shared my passion. It is with concern and sadness that this does not seem to be the case. The Forest Pond Community Park would not exist without the partnership of Friends of Ford's Pond. It was a brainchild of Beth and Jim Houseman. Initially, the city rejected the idea of having a park, a community park, and they had to be talked into it. But we had success, and it was established. All of the grants were obtained by the virtue of their grant writing skills, Beth and Jim Houseman. Most of the donations were obtained only through their vigorous efforts. Now we are about to enter the first full year of operation of the park since the September official opening. It is time to reestablish the individual and mutual responsibilities of the city and the Friends of Forts Park. In furtherance of this goal, Beth, Jim, and I have repeatedly asked for a meeting to hammer out concrete, written delineation of an agreed upon way forward. The result? Zero. Absolute dead silence from the city. This lack of response could less charitably be attributed to negligence, incompetence, or disrespect, but I choose to believe it is the unintentional result of poor lines of communication within the city staff and leadership. The city cannot afford to ignore the contributions and resources of its volunteers with its limited population and limited tax base. Sutherlin depends on a vigorous volunteer cadre to fill in the gaps of service. Let me give you a side note on specifics. The city is they're doing some conversations with engineers and with contractors over deficiencies on the park.
I'm sorry, you're just about out of time, so you gotta kind of, or 3 minutes, so you got a couple seconds left.
Can I continue?
For just a couple, 5 seconds.
Okay. I could go on and on. Okay. What I'm requesting the council tonight to direct the city manager to personally contact Beth and Jim tomorrow, not sometime in the future at his convenience or someone on the staff's convenience, but tomorrow, for the purpose of setting a mutually acceptable date for addressing our concerns. The ultimate result of that meeting should be a written agreement clearly laying out the terms of our partnership. The ball's in your court.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your concern, and your concerns will be addressed through our meetings later, okay? Kim?
Kim Metter, 350 West Sixth Avenue. I appreciate the thought of a new website. However, I just don't see what good that does when you're not keeping up with the old website. The old website today, I looked at it, shows that no money has been received in regards to the workforce housing, but I believe that Pat clarified tonight that there has been funds received. So that is not kept up. The other thing that I noticed, and it goes back to transparency and involving the community and decisions and the process. The prior task force meeting dates have been removed from the calendar. I don't understand why that is. You've now set the town hall. I would appreciate an answer before I leave the podium tonight, because I ask the same questions every month, and every month I am unanswered. I would like to know exactly what your plan is for notifying the public regarding the town hall. I don't feel that putting something on a utility notice, or putting something on your reader board, or putting a little sign up at the post office is adequate. I feel that formal mailings need to go out to everybody in the community, specifically my immediate neighborhood. There are so many people in this community who have no idea what your plan is for Oak Street. People don't go to your website. People don't care. They want to hear, they want to know, but they're not going to go to your website. So I would appreciate that. Where are the environmental results? How come those have not been released? Are those not public records? Why can't people see those environmental results? I don't understand why they're not posted to the website where somebody can come and see those. And the last few times I've asked this, I'm told, well, you know, there's 750 pages and we don't understand them. So how can anybody else? Well, it doesn't matter whether you can't. Jerry, respectively, this is my 3 minutes. It has been said that they couldn't be understood. And therefore, it doesn't matter whether I can understand them or Joe in the audience can understand them. There may be somebody who understands them that cares. So they're all public record. So it goes back to transparency. I have a hard time getting up here and not having this frustration in my voice that I don't want to have. I want to have rapport with you. I want to know when the next task force meeting is. Why have we not met since August? I'm on the task force. So why are we not meeting? It just, there's no transparency. So respectively, I'd like an answer regarding the town hall and how we're gonna notify the public.
I'm not gonna give you an answer right this minute, but we will give you an answer.
And when might that be?
As soon as I can get one and give it out to you.
Because
I'm not gonna, I don't have the answer right this minute, and so I'm not gonna force people to come up with an answer.
Madam Mayor, I don't mind answering that. Be more than happy to do a mailer out. It costs, you know, about $500, but we can do that.
it's important.
Huh?
$1,000.
$1,000.
And if you're waiting for the next meeting to announce when you're doing this, then that gives the public what, 2 weeks?
I don't see what the difference between mailing it and putting it in your utility bill when it's going to the house each time.
Well, I'll tell you what, I rarely look at my utility bill. I just pay it. So I may not actually look at the usage. I may, you know, a lot of people do paperless and just auto pay.
And you think people are gonna open up a mailer that looks
I
like
do.
junk mail?
Yes, I do. A lot of people are on auto pay and paperless billing. And so you need to do some kind of a formal mailing to the public. And you need to allow them time. I know I'm up with my 3 minutes. You need to allow them time for them to make their own conscious decision about this project, which you've already moved forward on and not included any of the public.
Well, we don't generally include all the public, but it's a great idea. We'll do a mailer.
I have my thoughts on why you don't include the public. It's
Well-
because you don't want people going again, you don't want.
We don't
I'm drawing
turn
a
the intricate design and engineering over to the public.
It's besides that, it's before you purchase the property.
Oh, well, okay, I'm not gonna get into that.
You don't want the
Philosophical
opposition,
debate.
there's the word I'm looking for.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll send out a mailer. Thank you. We're adjourned. Oh, have you turned that in? It still says on there that it needs to be
You
turned
still
in.
need to turn those in when you come in.
Well, he did.
Yeah, it's all
Well, I
right.
mean, he wrote it out,
Well,
he came in late. But he-
We went through this last month.
I know.
Madam Mayor, councilors, my name is Tom Maddox. I'm here to ask you to work with Public Works, instruct them, whatever the process would be, to open Red Rock Road as a de facto bypass. There is long-term plans to improve that road and make it an east-west connection. But by removing the barriers that are there and opening the gates now in the present, those of us who live east of White Street and south of Red Rock can use that as a bypass and avoid Central Street. You wouldn't have to spend any money grading it, leave the road rock. It'll cost you a stop sign and a road sign on each end. You know, and if you really wanted to do it, you could grade it twice a year, spring and fall. But it serves two things. It reduces your traffic on Central Street, and it provides your emergency response people another way to respond. Currently, they have to come out of State Street and hit Everett and a stop sign. They have to hit a traffic light on Central, which they may or may not be able to get through depending on traffic levels. So you can cut response times, gives them a second access, give those of us that live in the other way another way to get down to Calapooia so that we can get on exit 135 without fighting, trying to get on Central Street when school's out, when the trains just released the traffic, or whatever else happens that causes the 3 to 4 minute wait. So my request to the council would be work with Public Works and just give us a gravel road to get by. You know, you don't even have to make an official announcement, just pull the stuff out and unlock it, let the public figure it out. You'll reduce your problems with Red Rock Road with people that are down there during the day that shouldn't be doing things they shouldn't, which often includes garbage dumping, drug dealing, drug use. You have families that are out there with their bicycles, with their little kids and stuff down there, and you got the guy down there getting high. It's a bad mix. If we open the road up, it would reduce the people, just use it as a hideout, along with the fact that the people that are down there squirreling around, tearing up the road and everything else. So.
Madam Mayor, if I could respond, we've been wanting to do that for years.
I know, but I'm saying just pull the bears and leave a gravel road in there.
Well, if you would, we'll put it on the next agenda and we'll get staff to look with our engineer, police department to see if it can be done safely. And if they can, I don't see why we couldn't, but at the end of the day, it would require the council to identify it as a local arterial road, right?
I use de facto bypass is the word I use. But we wouldn't.
We've been wanting to do that forever.
That's something that is possible to do.
It's
Yeah.
been discussed. a lot.
For years.
I know
Yeah,
the
Adam
planning-
can, remember, we talked about it way back.
Yeah, at one point in time, DEQ was even interested in capping it.
Yes,
because it was
exactly.
time tailing.
And we actually applied for money and they wouldn't give it to us.
Yeah.
I know there's a long-term plan,
Yeah.
and I know that with the people that are down there tearing the road up every now and then, the red stuff comes up and
Yeah.
city, Public Works has been good about keeping it covered and whatnot, and you know, it's let's not wait for the long-term blacktop, all the curbs and everything. Let's just fix it now and let people figure it out on their own.
We'll see if
let's
it's
just see if
feasible.
if we can do that.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Now you can adjourn.
Okay, adjourn.